NBA playoffs continuing tonight, and don't forget, ESPN televising the Eastern Conference Finals, and ABC has the 2016 NBA Finals. But who will get there? We'll dive into that with ESPN NBA analyst PJ Carlesimo here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Coach, welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Good to be with you.
Well, I'll tell you, last night we had the blowout from the Warriors. We had the blowout in Game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And you wonder, we start with that Western Conference game from last night. Was Game 1 the wake-up call for the Warriors, or is this just the Warriors kind of saying, all right, we got caught off guard for a game?
Well, I don't want to give them too much credit. I mean, I was really impressed with the way they bounced back, but I think Game 1 was really more about OKC. I can't believe they would have taken OKC lightly. There are 3 games with them in the regular season. OKC led all 3 of them in the fourth quarter. So, and when they watched them dismantle San Antonio, I'm sure the Warriors realized they had a series on their hands. But I think OKC just played extremely well. The scary thing, and really it's true about most of the teams still in it, when you get Durant and Westbrook, they can distort a game. You can have a nice game plan. You can play really well. But, when you get an all-NBA first or second team player, and that's what those guys are, they can play. Like that game in the first half, Russell, you wouldn't even have known who he was watching the game. And then in the second half, he was unbelievable. So Steve Kerr's well aware, and that team is too. You can't take them lightly. They're going to steal a game or two just with their talent and just with great individual ability. And I thought that was what happened in Game 1. I mean, they said all the right things after the game, the Warriors, but I just thought it was more OKC playing really well and Golden State not playing as well. Now, they had to respond last night, and they did, and it was impressive. And it was actually disappointing. I thought OKC would play better, building on what happened in Game 1, and they didn't. But I think that's going to be a good series. I thought the Western Conference Finals was going to be really good. And it's early, but I still think it'll shape up that way. I think that's going to be hopefully a 6 or 7. I'm selfish from a fan standpoint. I hope it goes 6 or 7.
Well, yeah, and Coach, Oklahoma City, I think people just kind of thought it was going to be Spurs Warriors. What have the Thunder done to change what the people's opinion of them were?
Well, I think a couple things. I think, first of all, that was a bad matchup. It's easy because I had those guys a lot during the regular season. You never know what's going to happen, but everybody kept talking about Warriors, Spurs final, and, it was obvious from day one whoever finished first was going to avoid OKC. And OKC's a bad matchup for San Antonio, has been for a number of years. And just with their length and their size, they're San Antonio has an advantage against a lot of teams on the boards with their size, with Duncan and Aldridge and wheeling guys in off the bench. And OKC negates that. They've got the 2 great players we already talked about. And they're an up-and-down team that scores a lot of points. And all of those things are not good for San Antonio. So I thought that would be a really dangerous series for the Spurs. I was thinking, if you put a gun to my head, I would have said Spurs in 7, but I was afraid, having worked in both places, but having worked longer in San Antonio, I thought it was a bad matchup for them, and that's what transpired. I think if those guys played a lot, OKC might win 6 of the 10 series, to be honest with you. So OKC is tough. They're going to play Golden State tough. And Golden State was sitting there. I'd really be curious. I don't think they would admit it after the fact. I'm dying to talk to Steve Kerr and some of the players and say, who would you have preferred to play, OKC or San Antonio? I don't know what the answer to that would be.
PJ Carlesimo is with us here at the Eastern Conference, which, of course, ESPN has. ABC will have the NBA Finals. What can Toronto do? Can they do anything, or is this just a mismatch?
No, it's a mismatch right now for sure. Cleveland is playing much more consistently than they did in the regular season. Toronto is not playing as well as they played in the regular season. So let's start with that. That's bad news to begin with. Cleveland's been playing very well through the playoffs, and Toronto's been very up and down. Putting that aside, without Valanciunas, I haven't seen the morning what they said after the shoot-around. If Valanciunas doesn't play, then they have no shot whatsoever. If he plays, I think it could be a good series. I hope he plays tonight. But if
highly
not,
doubtful. Highly doubtful.
The highly doubtful means he's not going to play. But Game 3 is going to be enormous in Toronto. They're just going to have to take advantage of the home court. They're going to have to step up and play. I think with Valanciunas and Biyombo, and what's been surprisingly inconsistent, DeRozan and Lowry. I mean, they're both all-stars. They both had really good years, and they both have been incredibly up and down in the playoffs. Real simple to say. Those two got to step up and play. And if a healthy Valanciunas, I think that could still be a good series, which most people feel no way. And they beat them 2 out of 3 in the regular season. They didn't do it with mirrors. I mean, they beat them legit. So I think if Toronto's healthy and if their 2 all-stars step up and play the way they're capable of playing, I still think we might get a good series. Again, the Western Conference totally flipped between Game 1 and Game 2. I don't see it happening tonight unless Valanciunas plays. I think they're going to go back to Toronto probably down 2-0. But I think, playing in the ACC, and if they get Valanciunas back, that Game 3 will define the series.
PJ Carlesimo is with us. The Sixers won the lottery the other night. What does that do for them? We know what they've gone through. What do you think winning that lottery has done for them? Finally putting them in the right direction, or are they still a ways off?
They're a little bit of a ways off because they're young. You can't win with young players in the NBA. You have to surround them with some veterans. But Brian Colangelo understands that. They've been able. It was great. Selfishly, I'm pulling for Brett Brown. We worked together for 5 years in San Antonio, and he's an excellent coach. And he obviously had to go through the beatdown the last couple of years, but. I think what everybody forgets about, they talk about it, but they don't realize the impact they could have had. Embiid would make a big difference. If he's healthy, and that's a big if, he's a changer. He's a game changer. The same thing happened with Nerlens Noel. They've had incredibly bad luck with their draft picks in terms of injury. Nerlens missed an entire year. Embiid's missed an entire year. Dario Saric is sitting over there in Europe, but he's really a good player. So when he comes in, everybody knows he's going to be an impact player. So put him with Jaleel and the other young guys they have. They have a ton of young talent. To me, it's going to be more important what Brian's able to do, whether they package a couple of these picks they have right now or one of their current players and they need a little bit more of a veteran presence. But I think they're headed in the right direction. I like all their young players. And I think Philly's closer to being in the mix than people are giving him credit for. Big if Embiid comes back and if they're able to get Saric out of Europe.
PJ, I'll leave you on this. If you got number 1 pick, who you taking, Simmons or Ingram? I'm
taking Ingram. I've heard too many things about Simmons that I don't like. His talent, unbelievable, but the craziness that's gone on the side with that team and the fact that he's not a good shooter, I'll take Ingram's upside versus Simmons' more ready right now talent.
ESPN's PJ Carlesimo. Don't forget the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals on ABC TV. Thank you, PJ.
Mike, great being with you. Thank you.